Welcome to the Radiant Life with Tatiana. I am your host, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create the best life possible. I'm a master mindset coach, breathwork facilitator, and a passionate little Latina who loves sharing the magic behind your subconscious mind and energetics. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, learn all about spirituality and manifestation, and to be inspired in making a change to embody your best self, you are in the right place. My goal is for you to see and unlock your limitless potential, to have the tools to break free from the chains holding you back so you can create and live your most radiant life. I am so excited to have you here listening today. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello, loves, and welcome to another episode on the Radiant Life podcast. Today's topic is inspired by my lovely clients. It's actually a conversation I have time and time again because it's a pattern I see not just in clients, but in people, which is feeling fear and how to overcome and how to handle fear and choosing faith. Because let's be real, we all experience fear. In this journey of life, we find ourselves facing moments of uncertainty or adversity or doubt. And these are the moments where we get to make a choice, whether we choose faith or we choose fear. And unfortunately, many of us are choosing fear because that's our subconscious programming. It's because our brains are wired for survival. We have this reptilian part of our brain that scans our environment and wants to figure out what's the danger here? What could go wrong? So that way I can be prepared. That way I can keep myself safe. And it serves us to an extent. The issue is when we're looking at every situation, every decision at our life through the lens of fear and letting fear consume us or consume the decisions and choices that we make or we don't make because it can paralyze us, right? And so let's break these down because I want to help you feel equipped and empowered today on better ways of handling fear and how to choose faith. Because at the end of the day, we all experience fear, whether that is fear of failure or fear of success or fear of judgment, fear of doing something wrong and looking silly, or fear of the relationship going wrong, or the fear of commitment. Every single body experiences fear. Whether it's, I work with clients in a coaching entrepreneur aspect, and the fear of being seen or the fear of being judged by family when making a career transition, or the fear of failure, which is so valid, or even the fear of success because of our old programming. We all experience fear. And even when it comes to my clients, when I'm working with relationships, right? The fear of asking for help, or the fear of expressing my needs, or the fear of being seen and loved. And if you guys know my story, the fear of commitment, every single body experiences fear. The difference between people who are successful is that they look at fear in the face and they do it anyways. They don't let fear stop them or paralyze them, etc. So fear is it's a primal emotion that we all experience. And it's a natural response to a perceived threat and challenges we experience. And like I said, it can serve us as a survival mechanism, but it also can hinder us when it's dominating our thoughts and decisions. And sometimes the grip of fear holds us back. It prevents us from taking risks. It prevents us from stepping into our potential, and it can lead to regret in life, right? You think I didn't have fear when I quit my corporate job and signed a lease to Florida with no job lined up, with a passion to start a business. I had no idea how I was going to make money. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no idea how I was going to make friends. There was fear there, but I chose to have faith. Or the fear of when I made the decision to, break up with Evan, I obviously didn't realize how bad my fear of commitment was there. But did you think I didn't have fear of oh my God, I'm 27 at the time. I'm single. I'm moving out. I don't know what I'm doing, right? We all experience fear, but you can't let it prevent us from taking the steps needed. If you aren't happy in a relationship, or if you aren't happy in your career, you need to look at fear in the face and not let it control you. Because if not, you're going to look back on your deathbed and be like, wow, I just stayed in that relationship because I feared not being able to find someone else, or I stayed in that soul-sucking job because I feared I wouldn't find something else, or I wasn't smart enough, or I fear failing, right? When we focus on the fear, we focus on what we don't want. And if you guys know me when I say we talk about energy here, what we focus on expands. Where attention goes, energy flows. So let's stop focusing on the fear and let's focus on faith. And so let's break down faith here before we explain like how to do this overcoming. Because faith, on the other hand, is the belief that something greater than ourselves, whether it's a religious faith, a faith in humanity, a faith in our own power, has the power to transform our lives in so many ways, right? It lets us have this inner strength within ourselves. We have this resilience to go after what we desire, this courage, this optimism, a peace of mind because we have faith in ourselves or faith in something higher than us or faith in life, right? And so I Googled, what is faith before recording this? And faith is confidence or trust in a person, a thing, or a concept, right? In the context of religion, faith is the belief in God or a different type of teaching, a higher power. And the thing that people don't realize is that faith and fear are both the same thing. They are both just an energy. And it's just an energy of what we're choosing to focus on. And this is what I tell my clients every single time. We must learn how to choose faith over fear because it is a choice. And it's learning that they're both the same thing. Like, think about it right now. Sit with me. Fear and faith. It's an emotion. It is an energy. We can't, like, it's not a tangible thing as if like you hold your cell phone, like faith is in one hand and fear is in the other, right? Like, we can't do that. It's imaginary. It is energy. It is an emotion. And so that just means it's the same thing. It's the same thing of happiness is a choice, just as, our feelings come from our thoughts and our beliefs and what we choose to focus on. So I want you to realize today to choose faith over fear. And so I want to share with you, how can you handle fear and then choose the faith? Because it's easier said than done. I get it. This is actually something, I've learned over the years myself because if you know my story, I was very victim mindset, poor me, like I would choose fear, very negative. And I've had to build up my faith. And for me personally, I've built my faith with God and faith with myself and trusting myself, right? I believe it's not just one or the other. I feel like you can be both. So how do you handle fear when you're feeling fear? The first thing to do is just acknowledge it. Just be like, ooh, okay, I feel the emotion of fear right now. Why? Just ask yourself, like, why is that? What is the fear coming from? What are the thoughts that are triggering the feeling of fear? Because thoughts create an emotion. And instead of avoiding it or instead of distracting or instead of numbing yourself, whether it's with social media or drugs, alcohol, sex, instead of just avoiding it and pretending that the fear isn't there, let yourself fucking feel the fear. Like straight up. Like imagine you have a cup full of fear, like a cup full of water. Just let yourself fully feel it till it's drained. Because if we're avoiding it, if we're just letting it sit there, if we're pretending we're just going to throw the water out, it's not going to go anywhere. It's still going to be there. Yeah, you might throw the water out, but you didn't actually experience it, right? So let yourself feel the fear. And then come up with a plan. What's going to happen? So typically when I work with clients or people, it's like, well, I'm fearful of leaving a relationship, or I'm fearful of leaving this job, or I'm fearful of starting a business and not having any clients join, or XYZ. Okay, cool. Let's acknowledge the fear and let's feel it. Then what? What happens if you do leave the relationship? Then what? Okay, well then I'm single and I have to move out. Okay, then what? Okay, then I will find a new apartment. I'm going to have to heal. Okay, then what? Eventually I'm probably going to find some self-love. Then what? I'll probably make some new friend groups. Then what? I'll find a passion. I'll find who I desire to be, my goals, my values in a relationship. And then eventually I might meet someone. Okay, cool. So you see how the fear transmuted into something positive. You're not going to be single forever. That might be a fear, but that's a belief, right? Or let's say you have a fear. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. If you guys don't know, I've been working a lot with therapists lately in them creating coaching businesses. So they go hand in hand because there's so much value in that. So we talk about, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of being seen. Okay, cool. Then what? What's going to happen? Well, they may judge me. Okay. And if they judge you, then what? Is that going to prevent you from getting clients? Is that going to really affect you? Well, no, it's just their opinion and they'll probably move on an hour later. Okay, cool. Let's diminish the fear. Or, okay, if you fail, then what? Well, then I start from ground zero. Okay, cool. And then what? Like, what are you making failure mean? Because failure is just
feedback. And I tell them all the time that, can you just look at business or maybe a career transition for you, or even like relationship in life? It's just an experiment. Failure doesn't exist. So can you just be like, okay, cool. That's one way not to do it. Let's figure out another way, right? Let's figure out another person. Let's figure out a different job that I need to learn, right? I don't know if it was like Benjamin Franklin or Albert Einstein, like, I don't know, somebody like that. They were like, wow, you failed, say 1,000 times. I don't know the quote per se. And he's like, no, I didn't. I just found 999 ways not to do it, right? Like, take this lightly. Like, literally, life is an experiment. So if you just ask yourself, okay, why am I feeling the fears? What are the thoughts that are creating it? Like, can I just acknowledge it? Can I feel it fully? Can I ask myself, then what? You realize that the mind creates worst case scenarios in our heads than actual reality. And when we're focusing on fear and letting it build up, we're putting our body through stress and putting our bodies through situations that we don't actually need to be put through. So acknowledge it, ask yourself, then what? Maybe you create a plan. Okay, cool. If I have a failed launch, then I'm going to hire a coach because I clearly can't do it alone. Or I can't, you know what I mean? Like, create a plan so you acknowledge the fear. But the issue that people have is they just focus on the fear, they dwell, they replay all these worst case scenarios, and they're not putting any attention to the possibility of things going right, of choosing the faith. You feel me? So let's choose faith right now. Faith is literally just trusting that everything is happening for a greater reason. Faith is having this belief, because again, it's energy of this belief that it's happening for you. That, in my view, that God has a bigger plan, that you may not understand now why you had to go through that heartbreak, why you had to lose the job, why you had to be depressed. You don't understand it now in this moment because you're in the valley, you're low. But if you can just choose faith, and if you can just choose the mindset and the perspective of like, it's happening for me for some reason, one day I'll know, maybe a few months from now, maybe a few years from now, you'll realize you had to go through that heartbreak to meet the love of your life and to have the family you truly desired. You had to lose the job for the new job with a higher pay and more flexibility and a positive environment to come into your life. You had to fail the launch because you were misaligned. And if you guys know my story, I failed my health coaching business launch in January 2020, right before COVID, because I was not aligned. And I wouldn't now be here doing this mindset, healing, trauma, empowerment work if I didn't fail that launch, because I'd probably be spinning on the rat wheel, right? It was happening for me that now, hindsight, I can see. I had to choose faith when I was down on my knees, crying from a heartbreak, being like, why is this happening? Why did this relationship have to end? Why did I have to have this fear of commitment? And instead of a poor me, more of like, okay, God, like, grow me, teach me, strengthen me. I have the utmost faith in you, Lord, in your plan. I have faith in myself that this is helping me become the woman I'm meant to become. And one day it will make sense. And at that time, I just thought I would have the relationship. I would meet the person I meant to marry. Funny fact, it was Evan. I just had to overcome some of my past pains and wounds and traumas for that relationship to come back. But it's literally having this belief that it's all happening for me. And so how can you choose faith? Well, what would it look like if things went okay, if you overcame this? So like I said, when you're dealing with fear, then what? You kind of come up with a plan of like, okay, then what would happen? Like when I quit corporate, I'm bouncing around here with like relationship and career, but I think they just go so hand in hand at the same time. I told myself, okay, then what? I moved to Florida, my business flops, then what? I either get a job in Florida and stay down there, or I move back home and I get a job. Cool. I have a plan. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but the fear now can settle. But then what if I put my attention and energy towards what if it did went well? What are the possibilities of it going better than I ever expected? If I overcame this, oh my God, I would have a thriving business. I would love my life, right? Like sometimes our mind can't conceptualize the possibility of what's to come for us. And like, that's why I tell my clients all the time, if not this, when we ask or pray for something, if not this, then something better. The lists of things you're trying to manifest, the prayers you're praying to God for, if not this, then something better. And the best part is the better it gets, the better it gets. And the best is yet to come. Can you have that faith? Can you build that mindset? Right? So a few ways I'd like to help clients see this is like, okay, let's name these two parts. Kind of like I name grace and grace, what is it? I would say Grace and negative Nancy, right? Like when we have those criticizing thoughts, cool. Name that person so you can identify those parts of yourself that are meh, meh, meh. Same thing with this. Maybe you see it in the form of the devil in one shoulder, the angel in the other. Fear, negative. Oh my God, it's going to go wrong. You're not good enough. What if you fail? Blah, blah, blah. That's the enemy. That's Satan. That's the devil. Okay, angel. Well, it could be like this and that. Like there's difference in energies. Or maybe that doesn't land with you. Maybe it's having just two voices. You name them. And then how can you choose? Again, like I said, they're both the same thing. How can you choose faith over fear? This is a practice of building a mindset, of building a muscle, of learning how to process emotions, aka the fear, to move through it and then come out of it to then choose faith. It's the practice of surrender. It's the practice of letting go. And I'm telling you, this may take time. It may not. But when you're choosing faith over fear, it will change your life. Because it's not that you're never going to experience fear again. It's how can you handle fear better? How can you make decisions and move the needle forward, even with fear there? Look at it in the face and say, nah, fuck you. You ain't holding me back. I'm going to do this anyways. I'm going to go quit my job. I'm going to go start a business. I'm going to get on the dating apps and let myself feel safe, opening up and finding love again. Whatever it is. Faith helps you, empower you to confront these challenges with courage, with resilience, with optimism. And you can do this by practicing being mindful when fear comes through. What are the thoughts? Challenging those negative thoughts. Maybe raising your vibration, focusing on what you're grateful for and how things in your life have always worked out because they always have. And maybe you need to seek support. Maybe you need support in building this muscle and building this mindset, in actually having more tangible tools than like this podcast of how to really overcome and process emotion or release it on a cellular basis, how to unlearn the old programming, because what you're doing right now is you're living off an old programming, whether it's from teachers, your parents. Our subconscious mind is through an old programming. But the best thing is you could unprogram something and rewire it and have a new program to live by. I didn't live my entire life thinking that everything was happening for me. I used to think everything was happening to me, poor me, victim. Now I'm like, okay, cool, this fucking sucks. But you know what? We grow through what we go through and it's making me stronger. And it's a reprogramming process that I went through, that I've created, that's allowed me to be who I am and this confident version of myself and potential. And so maybe it is seeking support. And if that is you, hello, I'm here. These are what my coaching programs are here to support you. Whether it's in relationships, that's what Radiant Relationships is for, or if it's discovering who you truly are, your purpose, finding self-fulfillment and creating a life that you feel so aligned with, whether it's in business, career, or just who you are as a being. That's what Embrace Your Radiance is for. It's okay to ask for help because you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you just need somebody to teach you the steps to do it. And that's what I'm here for. But I hope at the end of the day, I literally thought this podcast episode was going to be 10 minutes long. It wasn't. There was a lot more wisdom that came through me. And I hope this landed. I hope this was like, you're right. Faith and fear are both an energy. They're both the same thing. And it's just what I get to choose. And what would it look like if I chose faith after I felt the fear out? Don't ignore her. Feel her. Acknowledge her. Understand her. But then don't let her dictate you. And let's choose faith instead. And walk with that trust in yourself, trust in God, and belief that it's always happening for you for some greater reason. You might not know now. It might take years to really understand. But there's a bigger reason. There's a higher purpose. Everything's interconnected. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really hope this landed. If it did, tag me. Take a screenshot at Instagram. You know the drill. I love the feedback. I really appreciate all of the DMs and messages or emails even around the podcast. Like, holy cow, you guys, like this podcast family is growing rapidly. And then we wouldn't be here without you like listening and sharing with friends and family or your socials. So thank you so much for always sharing. And even if that share is just a text to a family member or a friend that needed to hear this message, I appreciate you. I love you so much for listening. And I'm so grateful that this is impacting you. I'm always here. You can send me a message if you have any questions. Actually, I have a podcast Q&A form in the show notes now, where we're going to be starting these new series of you can ask me questions about myself or advice you need, but you guys can always send me a private DM too if you do have any questions. But thank you so much. I love you. I hope that you continue to follow this path and journey of becoming your best self, because I know that's why you're here listening to this, and choose the faith in yourself and who you're becoming. Continue to embrace who you are, to shine your light in this world. I hope you all have the most radiant day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. Make sure to tag me in any posts that you share. I love and appreciate you so much and cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out and radiate your light into the world.